What's going on, y'all? It's the Caveman back at it again with another video, and boy have I been waiting to make this video. I have been in love with this guy for a long time now. He's by far my favorite player outside of the Buffalo Bills. If he was on the Buffalo Bills, I would love that even more, but he's my favorite player outside of the Buffalo Bills roster. I love Allen Robinson. I think he's the most underrated receiver in the league, and he does not get credit for what he does in the NFL. He is an absolutely star-studded receiver, and he just does not get the credit I feel he deserves. My love for Allen Robinson, I would say, has spanned for about a year now. It's actually become somewhat of a joke amongst my friends, like how much I like Allen Robinson, and they just don't buy into the fact that I feel like he's an elite receiver. Nobody seems to think he's a top 10 receiver. I firmly believe he is a top 10 receiver. I truly think he's a top 10 receiver, and he just does not get credit. Like, I think he makes some stupid shit out of the situations he's been put in. He's had no good situation his entire career, and he makes do with what he's got, and the numbers are there to prove it. Like, he's only been on two teams that have had a winning record in his entire career. He's been in the league since 2014. We're now going into the 2021 season. He's only been on two teams with a winning record, and one of those teams was the Jacksonville Jaguars, in which that season he only played a single game, so he didn't even play in that season. And then the other time was with the Bears in 2018, his first time in Chicago. He played, I think it was 13 games. He missed a few games, but he did not have the best season, but he also, did not have the best offense. That team was only above 500 because of that outstanding Bears defense. But 2018 was obviously not one of his better seasons by any means, but nevertheless, ever since 2018, 2019, and 2020, he has been making do and actually been going above and beyond anything that you would imagine a receiver being able to do in the situation he's in. Obviously, when it comes to Allen Robinson, the narrative is that he's never had a good quarterback in his entire career. And I'm not going to sit here and say he's necessarily in the top tiers of Davante Adams, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones. I'm not going to sit here and say he's in that level yet. I think he's definitely being held back because all of those guys have had good quarterbacks in their career at one point. Allen Robinson has never had that opportunity at all. He's had three quarterbacks in his entire career since 2014. Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky, and for that short spell of time, Nick Foles. Who the hell is doing anything with any of these guys? Please tell me. I don't want to hear Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. He did that with the Eagles. I get it, okay? He was a good quarterback for just that season, and for some reason, Nick Foles can only come in and be good as a backup, but he's a starter. Who knows why? He just sucks ass, so that I don't want to hear that. But ever since that kind of lull in 2018 with the Bears, he only has gone above and beyond, like I said before. In 2019, he played all 16 games, finishing top 10 in receptions, finishing top 15 in receiving yards, and then in 2020, he upped the ante once again, finishing top 10 in both receiving yards and receptions in the league. He has shown that he has the ability to make do with what situations he has. And imagine if he had a good quarterback, he would be, I feel like, just as good as the rest of them. In these last two seasons between 2019 to 2020 were not the first time we've seen Allen Robinson be considered elite or show that he has elite talent. 2015 was his best year by a mile. He finished top 10 in receiving yards, and he also was number one in the league in touchdowns, and the team went 5-11 on the Jaguars. He can make do with what he's got, and in 2016, he didn't have a good year by his standards. He definitely took a step down, but when you analyze the team he's on, the Jaguars went from pitiful 5-11 in 2015 to an even worse 3-13 in 2016. So, I mean, how much can you blame him? He's the only guy on that team that had any sort of lick of football talent whatsoever, so I'm not sure how much you can really blame the guy at that point. But still, in 2016, he did all he could, putting up 800-plus yards and 70-plus receptions. I mean, how much more are you going to be able to do in a situation like that? There's really not much else you can do. But that's not all. That's not all the stats I have, and thankfully, I'm not subscribed to PFF because I hate their guts, and I think they're kind of dumb for the most part. But they love Allen Robinson just as much as I do, it seems like, because they've been tweeting out stats about Allen Robinson for a while now, and I have been watching and screenshotting every single one up to this point because I love Allen Robinson, and they seem to as well. I've recorded some pretty stupid stats about Allen Robinson that really shows you how bad a situation is and how good he makes out of that situation. Like, it's actually pretty outstanding what he's able to do with what he's got. Let's take a look at this. Most contested targets since 2019. We have Allen Robinson with 93, and the second closest wide receiver is at 74. Now, if you want to be lazy, if you want to be an ass, if you want to sit back and not analyze the bigger picture, you're going to sit here and see this stat and think, oh, Allen Robinson cannot create separation. And obviously, a lazy ass take would be that right there. But that is not the case. When you look at the bigger picture, you would know that Allen Robinson is very good at creating separation. If you just simply watched one game of Allen Robinson, he can create separation just fine. It's just the fact that Mitch Trubisky cannot hit Allen Robinson in the areas he's open. Mitch Trubisky is usually throwing it too far in front of him, him, too high above his head, too far behind him, whereas Allen Robinson has to go and get that ball wherever Mitch Trubisky threw it, where it's not accurate, and he has to go and make some stupid catch in contested coverage. And of course, Allen Robinson is extremely good in these scenarios because that is what makes Allen Robinson Allen Robinson. He actually has the most contested catches since 2018. He is at 65, and the second closest is 10 behind it, being Michael Thomas with 55. That's pretty impressive. 65 contested catches since 2018. I mean, I'm sure a lot of those would be depleted if he just had a decent quarterback, but that just goes to show you how good he actually is. Going down the list of these stupid stats, he's also the second highest graded wide receiver when it comes to contested targets. He is right behind Kenny Golladay at 93.9. He is extremely good with contested targets. He just knows how to go up and get the ball. Let's dig even deeper. Like, these stats actually get ridiculous. Allen Robinson is 100 plus targets in each of his last 3 seasons. Robinson has 3 or fewer drops in each of those seasons. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know how good of a stat that is? That is ridiculous because of how many contested targets he gets. The fact that he has 3 or fewer drops in each of those seasons is absolutely stupid. Adding on top of it, Allen Robinson has only 6 drops on 417 targets since joining the Chicago Bears in 2018. I mean, these stats just get dumber and dumber. The wide receivers the last 2 seasons with at least 200 receptions, 2,300 reception yards. Allen Robinson and DeAndre Hopkins are the only 2. That is ridiculous. If Allen Robinson isn't considered a top 10 wide receiver, I mean, how could you? I mean, this is like proof right here. At this very moment, Allen Robinson is absolutely a top 10 wide receiver. And just to put the cherry on top, something that is even dumber. This is probably one of the dumbest stats I've ever heard as far as an NFL wide receiver goes. Only 64 of Allen Robinson's career targets in his entire career since 2014 have been considered catchable. That ranks 94th out of 102. Really? 64% of Allen Robinson's targets are catchable. Do you know how bad that is? Do you know how awful it is? Do you know? Oh my God. That debunks everything that has to do with Allen Robinson because he just has had no quarterback help his entire career. And the fact that he's also putting up numbers that top receivers are putting up in these last couple seasons just goes to show you how good this guy actually is. If he had a quarterback, things would be so much different, and I hope to God he's able to get to a team that actually can get him the ball consistently and accurately because it is just not going to happen in Chicago. I don't know if they're going to franchise tag him or what, but I really hope he's able to get out of Chicago. I really hope he is. And ironically enough, I just stepped out of the shower. I was editing this video and I just saw this post by PFF about Allen Robinson again, and I didn't even see this one that I haven't included, and I have to include it. How do I not include it? There are just more great stats about Allen Robinson. Lowest drop percentage by wide receivers in 2020. Devontae Adams 0.9%, DeAndre Hopkins 0.9%, Allen Robinson 1%, and our boy Cole Beasley at 1.2%. Cole Beasley, we all know, is extremely underrated, but in this case, he just definitely doesn't fit the top 10 wide receiver bill in this scenario that I'm trying to fit Allen Robinson in. And this is just another example. I mean, Allen Robinson is just a phenomenal receiver. He just does not get friggin' credit. I don't know, man. People just need to start talking about this guy as the top 10 receiver. He absolutely deserves to be in that conversation. And I'm going to make a top 10 list, maybe this week, maybe sometime next week, but I want to make my top 10 receiver list. And you bet your ass Allen Robinson's going to be on that list because he's an outstanding wide receiver. If he had a quarterback, I feel like things would be so much different, and I hope to God he's able to find a new place in the 2021 season. But I want to know what your thoughts are on Allen Robinson. I want to know what your thoughts are on my thoughts on Allen Robinson. I want to know your thoughts on the video as a whole. I want to know everything that you have to say down below in the comments. If you guys like the video, please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I'd appreciate that. I'd also appreciate if you head over to Twitter and follow me on there as well. But if you guys enjoyed the video, I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.